Figures. The person who screws everyone over is the one person who can't even wear her mask over her nose.
Hey, this is all your fault! Not my fault! This is your fault! Get out!
Host is a new horror film that just popped up on Shudder this week, and I decided, since I don't really get a chance to talk about anything recent given the circumstances, this seemed to be a good one to sit down and talk about because, well, this is a film that actually uses the quarantine as a means to create a wholly unique horror film compared to what we're used to. At first glance, you look at a film like this and you're going to draw comparisons to movies like the Unfriended films, where all that is like on Skype calls and all that crazy thing. This one, frankly, takes that premise and uses it to its peak potential and never outstays its welcome. I don't know if I can really aptly call this a movie because it doesn't really have the runtime of a movie. It actually runs at a mere 56 minutes, so you could say that this is really more of a short film or an experimental film. But frankly, I would not want this film to run at a full feature length. This is a film that expresses its intention at the dead beginning and puts on display the tools that the filmmaker intends to use and populates it with a cross-section of very talented actresses and uses these limited resources to show that you can still generate legit fear with even the most simplest of accoutrements that you have at your disposal. And this is a testament to why I love horror so much. The great thing about horror, and it has a very long, wonderful legacy about this, is the fact that some of the best horror films have been done on a limited budget to create something new and memorable. One can definitely suspect this film may kind of just get swallowed up with the passage of time. It's great to have a film like this now to show that even with all of us being forcibly separated from each other, we are still able to create something that is going to legitimately thrill people and to still show that filmmakers can still do wonderful imaginative things even though they're probably hundreds of miles away from their actors and they're pretty much using their phones, their laptops, and their basic LED lights. And the director uses all of this to create a film that definitely lingers in your memory. It's not a cheap thrill. It definitely doesn't resort to any cheap tactics. And anytime it resorts to jump scares, they feel organic. They never feel like, with dramatic chords. Actually, another thing to this movie's credit, there's no score whatsoever this movie. You can tell that the director wanted this film to feel as organic and as real as possible, like a lot of the good found footage have done in the past. But this one takes it a step further. There actually is a level of audience interactivity in this movie. It has been recommended that this film be watched on your laptop, and I might actually give it a go to see how that is, but I can already kind of I was already feeling weird when I was watching it in broad daylight on my big screen TV. I can only imagine how people would react if they're watching this on their laptop in the dark, just like all these characters are experiencing everything. I definitely think that none of the other films like Paranormal Activity or even the Unfriended movies are able to apply that level of audience interactivity. Comment section, tell me if you watched it that way and tell me what your experience was in doing so. I'm not gonna say the story is a groundbreaker, and honestly, I'm glad, because this is one of those times where simplicity is key. This is a film that doesn't bog you down with any kind of real character exposition. You don't need to know every character's background. You don't need to know their history with each other. You already get that. You don't need to know more than that to know that these are a bunch of friends who love each other enough to communicate with each other and to do something as ridiculous and outrageous as have a seance and have it online, to the best of their ability. And yeah, that is the story. A group of friends all gathered together to have a seance. Well, one of the friends, unfortunately, decides to not treat this with the decorum as needed and ends up invoking a demon. Yeah, it's not a masterpiece of plotting, but again, it's a film that doesn't need to be. There's even a little part of me wondering if this film even really had anything resembling a script, because there definitely seems to be a lot of room for improv in it. There definitely seems to be, I'm pretty sure there's a script, like laying out, the beats and all the things that happen. I'm wondering if the director was experimenting with tricks that he could do with Zoom and with post-production effects and with the cooperation of all the actresses who actually are using their real names, which, that's a interesting little tactic right there, but not unheard of. Blair Witch actually did something similar as well. But it seemed like this was definitely a committee-made film to have all these people use whatever they had and whatever tricks that they knew how to do with their own respective zoom filters. And there are some pretty wicked things they do with zoom filters. Stuff that ends up making you feel very uneasy. I mean, you can tell that there's a touch of humor to it, but at the same time, it's arriving at times where it's making you more uncomfortable, which really adds to the effect. And again, I watched this in broad daylight on big screen TV, and even I was still really uneasy about it. And the other cool thing is that because the cameras are very crude that they're using, a lot of times, thanks to the lighting, there are odd little things that are occurring in the background, and you don't know if this is the product of the demon that is attacking them, or if it's just the tricks of the lighting that's present because of the glare from their phones or their computers. A lot of times when you see stuff reflected in the background, you think that these are like the eyes of the demon in the back. Or another thing that actually they draw attention to in the dead beginning is a dancing light at the top, and you're like, wait a minute, what is that? What is that? And they're like, what is that? And then you come to the realization, oh no, that's just a reflection from the candles that they all light at the bottom of the screen. And that immediately puts you in the mindset of don't trust everything that you're seeing. That sometimes things that may seem so minor in the background are actually, very serious things. And the escalation works extremely well, and because it's paced so well, it's over before you know it. Which you could say is a bad thing, but simultaneously it's also kind of a wonderful thing. Because the story is a familiar one, you could probably predict where it's going to go. But again, this isn't a film that's reliant heavily on unpredictable plotting. This is definitely a film designed specifically for the sake of experimentation. And to that end, it is a very successful experiment. And for all of you horror lovers who are looking for something new to enjoy, even if it's just for a fleeting thrill, this one will definitely deliver the good. It's got some great stuff in there, and it definitely lingers in the back of your mind even after you leave it. I watched it about an hour ago, and it stayed with me so much that I felt compelled to do this review. So that's kind of a testament to it. It's definitely going to be a film that people, I think, should definitely take the time to sit down and study to come up with their own ways of making movies given the current state of affairs right now. It's a very timely film, and I suppose with the passage of time, it might even serve to be a really good time capsule of a time that people were forced to stay apart from each other, and to show that they didn't let that get in their way in order to make something on one side fun, but another side very freaky, very scary. And I will say, I mean, again, comment section, tell me the next time you're on a Zoom call with your friends, if you don't find yourself eyeballing weird things in the back of their in the back of their room or something like that. Tell me, I'm curious. So do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think this is just another bog standard found footage film? Or do you think that this is exactly the kind of horror film we can enjoy in the times we live in right now? Leave it in the comments below. And for more addictive content on Narcotic Casserole, simply like, share, subscribe, click. Thou shalt be served.
Please come forward.